Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 239, and this is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. So let's get started and talk about number 22. I go least favorite to pick of the week. So number 22 for me this week was Hitgirl issue 3. Just have not been liking this book as much as I've wanted to. I know they're going to be switching up the creative team, I believe, in the next arc, so I might pick up the next issue to finish this arc and then pick up that issue, or I might skip next issue and then just pick up the next issue, the issue after that, because I have not been liking this arc. I just haven't found anything of enjoyment here. I guess Hitgirl's personality is here, and it's interesting because Millar obviously created Hitgirl and is writing Hitgirl now, but I just haven't been feeling the vibe that I usually do, and also I just don't really like the artwork. I think it's very sketchy. I don't like the facial expressions. I don't really like the coloring. So we'll see where this series goes, but I'm going to give this one 2 stars. Now, moving on to number 21, which is Regression issue 9. And for me, this is just a slower issue than other issues. I do like this book a lot, but I didn't really like the past of Molly and the detective, and that was something I was really looking forward to, them regressing. But I was kind of bored with their story, at least their past story, but hopefully more of that will make sense in the next issue of how this all connects to Adrian. But I do love the artwork. I really like the style of creepiness and kind of even the borders I really like here with the flashbacks. So I do like the artwork, but we'll see where the story goes with the next issue. So I'm going to give this 2.5 stars, and that is number 21. Moving on to number 20, which is Avengers issue 690. Now it wasn't a bad book, but I haven't been liking this event, and that's the reason why I was kind of underwhelmed with the ending. I will be picking up Avengers issue 1 next week, so don't worry, I'll have a review for that, and maybe an in-depth review. I'm going to try. But anyways, so I will be picking up the stuff kind of leading after this event, but it's all an epilogue. If you enjoyed the book, it's a nice epilogue to the stories that they were trying to tell. There are moments I liked, like I liked Hulk and Hawkeye's conversation post-Civil War II. I enjoyed that. I liked Voyager in the place that they were taking her. So I liked aspects of it, but I didn't love anything. And even the artwork is okay for me. So I'm going to give this 2.5 stars. And again, this is definitely more personal preference than anything. So that was number 20. Moving on to number 19, which is Detective Comics issue 979. Just have not been liking the direction Tim Drake has been going in, and the whole Ulysses controlling him idea. And I did not like the artwork here. I thought it was very soft, especially for this kind of more action-packed storyline here. So it just felt soft to me, and I didn't really get the facial expressions I wanted, so was a little underwhelmed with the artwork. And I liked the ending, obviously, Batman and Cassandra going to Stephanie. I thought that was fun. We'll see how that turns out, because, you know, I have not been a fan of how they've handled Stephanie in the past with this book, but yeah, just haven't been liking the direction of Tim's story here. So overall, gave this 2.5 stars, and that is number 19, I believe. Alright, moving on to number 18, which is Invincible Iron Man issue 599. A little better than what we've been getting, but not by much. I just want Bendis to kind of wrap up his story, and I believe he is by next issue, with issue 600, and move on to Dan Slott's run, because I just feel like Bendis has run out of steam here, and even once we finally get to see Tony, I'm just underwhelmed because of how much and really how long it took to build up to this moment. I do like the artwork though. I like the art changes here, but I feel like it skips too much to different characters. I want more of a linear narrative to really get more of the emotional beats here. So overall, gave it 2.5 stars. I was a little bit more interested in the story because Tony's finally here, but like I said, it took way too long to get to this moment, so I'm not really excited for the moment anymore. Now, moving on to number 17, which is Titans Annual Issue 2. A book that kind of has felt generic to me for a couple of months now, maybe because they're going to be changing direction. But, you know, how many times have we seen the Titans break up and then, oh, of course they come back together. And one thing I didn't like was how quick Donna and Roy kind of say the L word. They say they love each other when in this universe and in this memory they've kissed like once. So it was kind of weird that they kind of fell in love so quickly. Maybe because of their past as friends and obviously in the pre-New 52, but I wasn't feeling it here. I don't think that those scenes were well deserved in this issue. And again, I just was kind of done with this arc since it began. I was like, oh, we've seen this so many times. It's kind of cliche, and it was cliche in the end as well. Didn't really care about the villain, so wasn't feeling this issue. I did like the artwork though. I think the artwork was pretty strong, especially for a more action-packed issue, so that was a positive. So Titans Annual Issue 2 gets 2.5 stars, and that is number 18, I believe. No, number 17, sorry. Number 16 for me is Wonder Woman issue 45, and this is another story that kind of has felt very prolonged. I was like, alright, we get it, Darkseid. But I did like Jason's relationship with his mother. They were able to talk, and also Zeus and Wonder Woman being able to talk. That was definitely the strongest moments, but then everything else surrounding it kind of fell flat for me. Let me look at the artwork as well. I don't, oh yeah, artwork was strong for this book as well. So the art was strong. So overall, I'm going to give this one 3 stars. Definitely enough here to want you to, or I could suggest you to pick this up, but also not mind-blowing at the same time. So moving on to number 15, which is Mera, Queen of Atlantis, issue 3. We are halfway through this book, and we have more Orm than we have, than we've had Mera, and that annoys me. This is her book, and I feel like it's been promoted wrong. If this was more of a, I don't know, I don't even know what they would call it. I guess Ocean Master, then that'd be different, because honestly, especially with this issue, it's more Mera talking about Ocean Master's family. And another thing I don't really like about the storytelling here is every issue feels like exposition of what happened in the past. We've had the explanation of who Mera and Ocean Master are. I don't think we really need it again here. And I understand they're trying to explain it to Ocean Master's wife. I believe they're married. I understand that, but they could have made that a little shorter, because we get the story. It just felt like extra exposition that we've already received in the past 2 issues. So, for me, I did like the artwork, though, and the story's not bad. I just feel like it's kind of worded wrong. It doesn't feel like a true Mera story, at least of what it was supposed to be when it was being sold or being promoted. So, I'm going to give this 3 stars, and that was number 14? 15? That was 15. Now we're moving on to number 14, and that is Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man issue 303. Getting a little better, this book. Still not exactly where I want it to be, but I like the Teresa stuff a little bit more here, that they finally confirmed that she is the sister of Peter Parker, and hopefully they do something with that in this series a little bit more, just to talk about them being family. I would enjoy that. And I like how the timeline's changing. We get to see Peter quitting. Well, I guess it hasn't really changed that much, but he's quitting for different reasons now. I like that Aunt May knows. I think when they go back, things are gonna be having a lot of crushed butterflies, so we'll see. And I like that Norman's more evil than he was at this period of time in Spider-Man. You know, having this timeline being disrupted, quickening his evilness, I think is cool. Also, I like the art style here for more of old school Spider-Man look. I think it fits this tone in this time period. So, overall, I gave this 3 stars. I'm still not jumping over hoops for this book, but I think it's going in the right direction. Or did I give it 3.5? I'm going to give it a 3.5. I'll give it a 3.5. There you go. 3.5 stars. Alright, moving on to number 13, which is Witchblade. Number 5. So, Witchblade, I'm torn on this book. So I do really like it, and I look forward to it every month, because I really like Alex as a character. I love her personality, and I love the challenges she goes through. The Witchblade aspect is where I think the book is a little iffy. There's not enough of it, and a lot of times I feel like this narrative, I don't want to say jumps a lot, but it's paced wrong. I don't like the pacing for the book, or at least in my opinion, obviously. For other people, you might feel differently, but I just don't really like the pacing here. I think we should have gotten into the Witchblade stuff a little bit quicker, and even this issue is a lot of stuff in her head, and I feel like maybe it's the artwork, maybe it's just a collaboration, but I don't feel sunken into this book. I don't feel like my teeth are fully into this book, just because of maybe the art style doesn't feel, I don't want to say grounded enough, but maybe it's the backgrounds, I don't know. I can't really get into the story fully because of the way it's, I guess, paced. It's just all of it. It's all that, you know, the pacing, the artwork, the collaboration, and I hope that it gets stronger as this series goes on. I want to be fully invested in not just Alex's character, but the Witchblade as well. I want to, maybe because we don't understand the Witchblade as much in this world as well, so maybe that's the reason, but again, there's you know, something there that's not making me fully invested in this book as much as I want to be. So I'm going to give Witchblade issue 5 3.5 stars. Still a good story. Really like the emotional beats here, and finally getting to see the full Witchblade at the end of the story, but still I want this to be higher on my list. So I'm giving that 3.5 stars. Moving on to number 12, which is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2018 Annual Issue 1. I will say this is a bit lower price tag wise. It's $7.99. That is a bit pricey for what you're getting here. But I really like seeing the different universes of Power Rangers. We get to see SPD, RPM, Ninja Steel if you're into the current Power Ranger stuff, Zeo, which Kyle Higgins writes, and am I missing one? And I believe Time Force. No. In Space, Ninja Steel. I don't think I said In Space. So In Space. I liked it. Overall, I did like the book. I think the artwork could have been stronger in pretty much every story. I feel like that was the weaker aspect, was the art style. But I did like, especially when they called out their, you know, morphing, I guess, call, you know, getting gear, SPD emergency. You could totally hear their voices when they showed the lettering and just the artwork for that. So I love that. And also, I would say I enjoyed Higgins' story the most here, because I feel like that connected to the story the most. I mean, they all connected to the main story, but you definitely got the most emotional beats where Jason gets his morpher back, even though it doesn't work. I like that aspect. You get Billy's name thrown in there, and his relationship with Tommy is really explained here, which I liked. And then you find out it was actually Lord Draken having that conversation. That was definitely my favorite story, but the artwork could have been stronger there. And then the other stories were fun just because you're seeing these worlds in the comic books that we haven't seen yet. I feel like Ninja Steel, you had, you know, that stronger narrative than you do in the show, which is obviously a bit more kiddified, which I guess you could say about all these worlds. I really liked RPM, actually. I think that was my favorite, because we get to see the Doctor, you know, it's her birthday, and Lord Draken tries to team up with her, and she ends up killing Lord Draken, but it ends up being like an android. I thought that was definitely the more badass moment, and it totally fit RPM, which is the more darker world for Power Rangers. Even though my favorite out of all this is In Space, I didn't love that one as much. And same, Ninja Steel, I guess I was just a little out of it because I've only seen a few episodes of that season, and I haven't been fully connected to those characters. And also SPD is one of my least favorite seasons, so that one I wasn't as connected to either. But overall, I gave this 3.5 stars. Definitely worth picking up. A bit pricey. Wish the artwork was a bit stronger, but if you're reading Shattered Grid, definitely pick this up. I think there's definitely some important stories here, and I'm glad to say that about this annual, and they're not just throwaway short stories about these characters. They all do connect to Shattered Grid. Alright, moving on to number 11, which is Saga, issue 51, and this definitely shows a lot of different characters here, which is why it's a little lower, but you end on an interesting cliffhanger where one of the journalists ends up getting shot. And you're like, whoa, that was a big moment. I didn't expect that, so we'll see where that goes. Or I guess he gets, like, bitten by the anteater character. Yeah, he gets, like, bitten. Not shot. Bitten. but it looks like kind of like a bullet wound. But yeah, as always, I really enjoyed Marco and Alana's story of Marco writing a book. I thought that was a lot of fun because that's, you know, big connection in their story. Their daughter learning how to swim was a lot of fun. So there's a lot of small moments here that I enjoyed character-wise, but it doesn't really pick up until that last moment where you're like, okay, well, the action's back in Saga. So overall, I gave this one 3.5 stars. Definitely some interesting character moments here. And of course, Fiona Staples' artwork is gorgeous as always, and imaginative as always, as well. Alright, moving on to number 10, which is Hunt for Wolverine, issue 1. So it's kind of in the middle this week. And, I mean, it's a $5.99 book. That is expensive for what you're getting here, and that's something I'll say. I don't think you necessarily needed the second story where Kitty's looking for all these people to try to find Wolverine, but you know why you have it. All those miniseries in the back. So those people have to look for Wolverine. So I didn't like that story as much, but I did like that beginning story. And I will say it was a little shaky in the beginning where we get to see these ex-villains trying to find Wolverine in the statue and figure out he's not in the statue anymore. That was a little slow for me, but then once we get the flashback of Kitty phasing Wolverine out and her being the one that finds out that Wolverine's still alive, love that. As a Kitty fan, Charles Soule knows how to write this character. He knew how to write her in, you know, The Death of Wolverine, and really writes her well here as well, in this story as well. Love the stuff she does. Love her personality. As you know, I love her character. So I really like showing that connection that she has with Wolverine. And I even love that line where she's like, "This is the hardest thing I had to phase," and she says why, because of the adamantium. You know, she has to pull him out. So I really enjoy that explanation and how she says this is harder, or at least up there with the bullet, where she had to phase for years on a bullet in space, which is one of Kitty's best and worst moments, because obviously she wasn't alive or in the comics for a while, so that made it the worst moment, but one of the best because of how heroic she was. But anyways, good Kitty moments. Dave Marquez, I will say his artwork for me wasn't as strong in the beginning just because of some of the inking here, but then really shines once again after the villains kind of escape and you get these brighter moments. It goes back to the beautiful Marquez artwork I love. So overall, I gave this 3.5 stars. Definitely an interesting story. You know, it's a good setup overall, but you know, is it as amazing as you want for a Wolverine return story? I don't know. I think Death of Wolverine was a bit stronger for that first issue, but still definitely will be picking up more and gonna at least try out the first issue of all the miniseries. So Hunt for Wolverine issue 1 gets 3.5 stars. Again, it's a little pricey, so I don't know. It depends how big of a Wolverine fan you are if you really want to pick this up, or Kitty fan, because there's a lot of great Kitty moments, as I said. Alright, moving on to number 9, which is Spider-Gwen, issue 31. A little upset to see this lower than top 5, because I've been loving the Gwenum arc, but this issue kind of had the same problem I had with the last issue. I don't really care for Gwen's children from another universe, and this other Gwen that we find out about, and there's a lot of, you know, time travel terms going on and being thrown around, and like, here's all these other Gwens, and talking about them and them existing. Wasn't as interested in that, but I did like the 607 Gwen, I think that universe is. I don't know, it's like, I think it's 607, the other Gwen's from. No, 617. So yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, so the 617 Gwen and our Gwen definitely is the more fun aspect here, where they go to Tony and they try to figure out how to fix things. And then, you know, showing how different but similar they are. And then when they do figure out how to fix things, it's at the bridge. I thought that was such a great moment. I love Jason Latour's inner monologue for Gwen here. And then, you know, that beautiful moment of Gwen and Gwen hanging onto the bridge, I thought was cool. I don't really get the motive as much to why Gwen wants to reveal her secret identity, but it's still a cool moment in the end of the issue. So as you can see, like, I really liked certain moments here. I liked some of the character moments, but then you have kind of shaky, you know, over-explanation of this time travel stuff where it gets a little too involved, and I hope we get a little bit more motivation for Gwen in the end of this issue, why she wants to reveal her identity. So, Spider-Gwen issue 31 for me gets 3.5 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Strangers in Paradise XXV issue 3, and this is mostly an issue to catch you off of the cliff, which was fun. I love that it was Zoe and her boyfriend that did it. Not Zoe, I'm sorry. Jet and her boyfriend who do it. I enjoyed that. And it's cool that she ends up going to, I believe it was Ireland, to go find Stephanie. There was some weird paneling for me where I wasn't sure if it was Stephanie in the end that stole her car, just because of the way it was paneled, and I was like, oh, that's kind of a weird page to end that, but hopefully in the next issue we'll find that out, because Stephanie and Catchy look a little similar, so we'll find out where that's going to go in the next issue. But overall, I did like this issue a lot. I love this book. I love Terry Moore's voice for Catchy. So I am giving this 3.5 stars. There's some convenientness in this issue to get Catchy off the cliff, but it was still a fun moment. So 3.5 stars for me for Strangers in Paradise. Moving on to number 7, which is Archie, issue 30, which is higher than I expected because I haven't been liking this arc as much as previous arcs, and also still not a huge fan of the art style. I do, as always, say that's a bit simplistic for me, and I don't think it expresses the emotions as much as I want to here. But I like this issue with Moose and Midge. I really like their scene, and even Tony and Moose's friendship in this issue I thought was fun. What else did I really like? Josie and the Pussycats saving the day. I love the small moment we get with Veronica and Betty. I love their friendship and how much Veronica's trying to support her. Going to the dance together was fun. So it's just a fun issue. I don't know if it's the best issue of Archie. I still don't really care about Cheryl's dad, so I don't know how I'm going to like next issue. But I still like this book, and there's a lot of fun moments in this one. So Archie issue 30 gets 4 stars. And that is number 7. Now moving on to number 6. Which is Batgirl issue 22, and I believe I got the variant cover. This is an awesome cover. And I was ready to give this a little lower. I was reading the issue. I was like, oh, finding Kai was really convenient. That other girl you found, you know, you fought in China, that was really convenient. And then finding out that it was all in her head because she got shot, I was like, oh, that was a cool twist. So I really enjoyed this issue. I like the twist in the end. I like the artwork overall for this book as well. So, yeah, I enjoyed this book. Again, I think it would have been a little bit too convenient if this was just a story, but I love that it's all in her head, and that makes so much sense for a Batgirl story. So, I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Babyteeth, issue 10. Love this book. It's from Aftershock. Probably my favorite Aftershock book that they got going on. And with this issue, we finally get to the moment where Sadie is talking to her son, and we don't know why. At first I was so nervous. I'm like, oh my god, is her dad and sister dead? Well, the sister is in like some hell dimension, so is her baby Clark, but they're not dead, which I was happy to see. But right now, Sadie doesn't know if she'll ever see her son grow up, because they're immortal, so they grow slower. Really enjoyed that twist there. I love the artwork and how dark it is. It really fits the tone of this book. But still, you know, you see what the characters are doing. Sometimes with a dark color palette, you're like, what's going on? But really, the utilization of color and the dark black inking here really works for this book. So, Babyteeth issue 10 gets 4 stars. Really getting to an exciting point in this book. Moving on to number 4, which is Kill or Be Killed, issue 18. Another book I really enjoy month after month. And with this issue, we get to see the detective a bit more, figure out our main character's, not motives, but that he's behind all this. That he's the I don't even know what they're calling him. the Red Hood. I don't think they're calling him that. The Vigilante, I guess. But I liked how she pieced together the pieces here. It wasn't so obvious or easy. She had to go to different places and like, you know, I had this gut feeling, and then she kind of follows this gut and finds out the clues to get closer to our main character. And one thing I think that's so brilliant with this book is our main character's voice. I love his voice, and even though you don't see him in this issue, he's still so present in this book and in this story. So Kill or Be Killed issue 18 gets 4 stars, and the artwork is so pulpy and great. I love the artwork as well here too. Even scenes like this are some of my favorites, where we get to see the dialogue crossing on the side. Just love that. It's, again, this really pulpy type book. So Kill or Be Killed issue 18 gets 4 stars, and that is number 4. Alright, moving on to number 3, which is All New Wolverine issue 34. Really liking this old woman Laura, or old lady Laura, what are they calling her? Old woman Laura story arc here. I really enjoyed the characters that they bring. You got Hawkeye, you got Janet that was stuck in a bullet the whole issue. That was so much fun. And then in the end you get to see Maria dies, and that was such an emotional moment where she's like, you know, fight the good fight. I'm sad I wasn't able to see perfect peace, but I know you could do it. It was such a great moment, and I love that she really goes out in a heroic moment. And all their just dynamic is so much fun. Getting to see Kate and Gabby talk with each other. I really enjoyed it. It's mostly a fighting issue too, but the character moments really shine here. So All New Wolverine issue 34 gets 4 stars. Really great artwork too. I'm a big fan of, I want to pronounce his last name right, Rosanas. His artwork, he worked on Astonishing Ant-Man as well, and I really like the emotions that he does, and even action, even though it's kind of more of a simple art style. It really aces both here. So I'm going to give All New Wolverine issue 34 4 stars, as I said. Moving on to number 2, which is The Flash, issue 45. I kind of picked up this issue randomly. I wanted to start with Flash War, but I saw the cover, I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. So I picked it up, and I don't regret it, obviously. I really like this issue. Even though I haven't been reading The Perfect Storm, I think I read probably the first 10 issues of this run of The Flash and then dropped it, I understood what was going on. I wasn't lost at all. I understood, you know, the character motivations in the beginning, but what really made it was Iris and Barry, and then Iris and Wally. So many great moments there that I love, and then we really get into Flash War where Wally, well, first of all, Iris remembers Wally, and that was amazing, and then Wally remembers everything once again, and the artwork is just so good. The inking's a little dark, but the mishmash with the a little bit of a lighter complexion for the coloring just makes a beautiful art style for this book, especially, again, for those last pages. So I gave this 4 stars. Really excited to go into Flash War. Probably will get that printed, because the annual in this issue really proved to me that the Flash has gotten in a really good spot right now. So I gave that number 2, and now moving on to number 1, which for me was The Mighty Thor, and I love the cover here. First of all, this is an homage to that first Jane Foster cover, and then you have in the back fading Jane Foster. I didn't notice that until I was like getting ready to review my books. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was such a good goodbye to Jane. And what I like about it is that, spoiler alert, there's definitely going to be spoilers in this review, Jane survives, but Thor dies. Thor truly does die, because the hammer is not there anymore. And I love that Jane's still worthy by the end, though. She has a little piece of the hammer, and she's still holding it, and then Thor says, ooh, it's still heavy. Even though it's this small piece, it still feels heavy to me. But I love that Jane survives, and it's Odin's son who really has that not Odin's son, I'm sorry, Odin himself that has that conversation with her and says, you know what, okay, I'll help Odin, help you, you know, so make you survive. And then Russell's artwork is just so perfect for this book. I mean, just showing, you know, her heaven in a way. And then even when, here's that page, the whiteness is just so gorgeous. And the coloring for this book. Look at these pages. Every page is a masterpiece. And then seeing Jane have the thunder brought back to her was great. And now the moment I really liked in the end, though, is Jane handing back the mantle to Thor. In a lot of ways, I think the story could have been, and what we've seen the story to be, this type of story, would be, if she survived, is Jane gets her powers taken away and must give them back to the rightful owner. And this didn't feel like that. Even though those are kind of the steps it took, it didn't feel like Jane was just holding the mantle for him for a little while. She deserved that mantle, and I think that's celebrated here, that she was Thor. It wasn't that, you know, she was a fake Thor until the other Thor came back. I like that it had that, and why I said that most stories, like, oh, her power's taken away, she'll never have it again. This story actually alludes to her being a Thor again, and I like that, that her story is not done, and that this creative team, you know, many times it's said that a creative team for comics, they take out the toys in the toy box and then have to put it back to kind of where it was for the next creative team to play with these toys. And I feel like it's done here where, you know, the creative team puts the toys back in the toy box but leaves a little moment where you're like, hey, other creative team, if you want Jane to come back, you totally can, because she sees the hammer and she's like, other Thors can exist as well. So I hope that is something that ends up happening maybe in like a year or maybe sooner. That'd be awesome. You know, after she's deals with you know, curing her not curing, but being in remission for her cancer. I think that could be a moment that she can have. I hope so. You know, it's definitely implied there, and I like that. It wasn't just Jane having her powers totally ripped away, because again, that's usually what happens, and one thing that ended up happening in a recent story, like Superwoman. With Lana, it's like, oh, I had the mantle for a second, and then because, honestly, a lot of times it happens with female characters, it's just like, because of that, it's like, oh, now my powers are taken away, and I have no story to tell, because we haven't seen Lana since, but yeah, I like that it wasn't something like that. She still has the, you know, story path to be a Thor, and it truly celebrates Jane as Thor. And it doesn't undermine her being Thor, and I think it was just a perfect passing on of the torch to Odin's son, and that she actually gives him the inspiration to be Thor again. And I'm really excited to see what the next creative team does with Thor, and I'll be reading it. So I really enjoyed this issue. Overall, sorry, I'm like choking. I'm gonna give this, let's see. I'm gonna give this 4.5 stars. I have 4.5 stars down, but I kind of want to give it 5 stars. I think I would have given it 5 stars if we really got to see that she was gonna hold the hammer. But still love this issue. It's so good. So yeah, I'm gonna give this 4.5 stars. Very close to 5 stars, obviously. And that was my pick of the week. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic You Know. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And let me know in the comments below, what was your pick of the week? What was your least favorite book? And everything in between. And I will see you guys later. Bye.